In football, there are fans, there are super fans, and then you have Roger Director, the screenwriter and TV producer, put his life on hold to chase a boyhood fantasy, living with his favorite team for 6 months. His book about it is called I Dream in Blue, Life, Death, and the New York Giants. And Roger Director is with us this morning. Good morning.
Hey.
All right.
Beautiful Giants weather today.
It is kind of beautiful Giants weather. You hope it is like this coming weekend, right?
I'm hoping that it's like this in Dallas when they begin their season, yeah.
Right, all right.
Yeah.
Now, your lifelong fascination with the Giants began when?
It began in 1956, the NFL championship game against the Chicago Bears that they played in Yankee Stadium, which the Giants won 47-7, and I thought they would win every other game, every other championship from that point on. It turned out not to be the case.
Right. How old were you then?
I was 7.
7.
7.
And so you became obsessed. You're not just a fan, but is it literally an obsession with you?
Well, I think it's an obsession. I mean, you have to be careful about these things. You know, when I think I'm like any guy. You know, if you crack me open, deep down inside there is that little boy who loves his team.
Yeah.
And
the 12-year-old screaming to get out.
Screaming, you know. And so I had my chance this past year to spend the whole year being that 12-year-old boy and following my team, the Giants. But the problem is, Harry, that I'm not 12.
Right.
You know, and so
you had
now
to view it through the prism of adulthood.
The prism of adulthood, and yes. And so the problem is that what was going to happen to my family when the head of the household wasn't there?
Sure.
There was no one there to do the chores. There was no one there to do the homework. I want to back up a little bit
because you're an employed person. You're an actual human being with a wife and a child.
I wouldn't say I'm an actual human being.
And responsibilities. Who goes off for 6 months and just drops everything to become a football group?
Well, it was an important lesson, I think, for women who live with guys like this. The lesson I learned after a year was that my family was way better off without me. They were way better off without me.
Really?
They took care of themselves fine.
Yeah.
In fact, the person that really hated when the Giants lost to Philadelphia in the playoffs was my wife, because it meant I'd be coming home and spending all my time.
That's right. So you were back again.
Yeah.
Truth is, though, you get to live this out. When you called up the Giants and say, hey, I want to go hang out with you guys for 6 months, what did they say?
They said, that's a remarkably stupid idea, but okay. And actually the Giants... you know, the Mara family, the Tisch family, they own the team. Yeah. Lovely group of people. The front office there couldn't have been more helpful. You know,
they
great
really
group of people.
Yeah.
Wonderful people.
Yeah. So you start to go to the summer practices and everything else. Initially, what was the experience like? Were you a kid in a candy store?
I was absolutely a kid in the candy store. I mean, it's you know, I got up, I wore my Giants credential every day. I wore it in the motel where I was staying. Right. I tried to prove to people that I look at my credential. The only hazard was I found in camp you stay right near the sidelines, and when someone like Brandon Jacobs is running toward you,
huge giant running back,
and he might not stop, then you really want to have your will prepared in case he runs smack dab into it. It can get a little bit dangerous. But I was completely a kid in a candy store. It was just. It was a wonderful year for me. I hate to admit it, but it was a great year.
Okay, so Shockey is one of your favorites? Or?
Well, Shockey, the great thing was following Tiki Barber because he's the most thought-out athlete I think I've ever met. Jeremy Shockey, which is the opposite of that. There's really no thought that is going into it. He's the kind of a guy who I think sleeps inside the middle of a mountain, and the thunderbolts come down, and the mountain opens up and the season starts and Jeremy Shockey comes out.
Did you come away more impressed or more... What was the big takeaway lesson of this time with this team?
The takeaway lesson...
for you personally.
Well, one thing is about the players. It's tremendously difficult. They sacrifice an enormous amount. It's tremendously grueling, and they are tremendously attentive and studious. And I'm impressed by the level of professionalism and study that goes into it. For someone like me, a fan, I think that we have to be careful at home when we're watching games to send the right parenting message. You can't tell your daughter, you know, you call that other girl smelly. you're grounded, and then turn around and yell at the TV,
Right.
you idiot, why'd you drop the ball?
Sure.
You know, it sends a wrong parenting
Because
message
it's that
to your
much
kid.
more difficult than we really appreciate watching on
much,
television.
much more difficult. But I have to say, I think I'm turning over a new leaf this season, Harry, because I'm sure the Giants are going to go undefeated. I have nothing to worry about.
So you were actually all the way back to square one again.
I'm back to square one.
So you're 7 years old all
I'm
over
at the
again.
beginning of square one.
And how's your family dealing with you being back home again?
They're pretty happy about it, but they're very nervous about the trip to London that I'm going to take in October when the Giants play in Wembley Stadium against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
They would like me to stay over there, I think.
They just hope you behave. Please behave. All right, Roger Director, everybody, thank you very much. All right, and you can read an excerpt from I Dream in Blue on our website at cbsnews.com.